A collection of themed stories written by Ruth Bayley, August 2000, read by Malaika Ryan. Theme: the group. Groups are important throughout our lives because we are social beings. We're born into family groups, and the separation from the family group at an early age is very painful. But our relationships extend beyond the family. School, religious, recreational, work, and business groups play a significant part in our life experience. When we have strong connections with groups, we feel secure, and many of our needs are met for physical care, for safety and security, for information and knowledge, and for companionship. When our connections with groups are weak, feelings of loneliness, isolation, and exclusion arise. It is difficult to cope with these feelings over long periods of time. Hence, we need to develop skills which help us maintain our relationship with groups. It should not surprise us that solitary confinement in prison is a harsh form of punishment. This is because our connections with important groups are broken.
Hi, welcome to Waterwheel Creations with Malaika. Today I'm doing Doris' story. The theme: the group. Doris grabbed her handbag and bolted towards the door. "How could you do such a thing?" she screamed at Marcia as she hurled back the sliding door so hard that it screeched on its runners. "Come on, children, get your things." They looked at her astonished. "We're leaving now." Doris darted through the front door and hustled into the night, the children plodding behind her. Doris and Marcia were sisters. Their Aunt Maggie and her husband Dennis raised both of them and their eldest brother Reggie after their mother died. Before she died, their mother had transferred 3 lots of land to Aunt Maggie in return for a promise that Aunt Maggie would look after the children. Childless Aunt Maggie kept her side of the bargain, regarding the children as her own. Now in her 60s and ailing, Aunt Maggie gave the land back to them, or so Doris thought. "The selfish cow," Doris blurted while she hurried to the bus stop. As she and the children boarded the bus and sat down, Doris cast her mind back to her childhood in St. Joseph. She remembered the squabbles they had as children. Marcia was the devious elder sister who schemed and plotted until she got what she wanted. And now she has done it again. Doris had gone to see Marcia with a proposal to raise a mortgage on one of the 3 lots of land in Aruka. With the sum raised, Doris hoped to start a small hairdressing business. The extra income would help support her 2 children through secondary school. As it was, they could barely manage on Jim's wages as a bus driver. Back home, Doris was restless. She rustled up a quick supper for the children and hurried them into bed. Then, she filed from the living room to the kitchen, washing and tidying the plates away, rearranging the cushions, dusting the ornaments, and wiping the television screen. Satisfied that everything was there and nothing else had slipped away into Marcia's clutches, Doris slumped into the sofa. She was glad that Jim was on the evening shift and would be back at 12:30 a.m. At least she had some time to mull over what happened. Marcia had scuttled her plans. In fact, she had done so 3 years ago when she persuaded Aunt Maggie to transfer the property to her alone as trustee for all of them, including the aunt. She assured Aunt Maggie that such an arrangement would guarantee all her medical bills would be paid and her routine needs met. Marcia raised a mortgage of $250,000 to the full value of the land. No more money could be raised on it, and Doris knew nothing of all of this until today. "What a deceitful wretch," shouted Doris. It all made sense now. Doris had watched the renovations to Marcia's house, but thought nothing at the time. After all, Marcia's husband was well paid as a welder. Besides, he was hardworking and ambitious. She wondered how much of the $250,000 was spent on Aunt Maggie, and how much, if any, was left. There was no point in phoning Aunt Maggie, whose senile dementia had grown worse. But her brother might be able to shed some light on all this. Doris picked up the receiver and dialed Reggie. A tired voice answered at the other end. Then, Reggie became alert as he listened to what had transpired. "What has happened to our family?" he moaned. He knew nothing. As far as he was concerned, the land was transferred to the three of them in equal shares. Doris noted the anger and resentment in his voice. For 3 years, they had labored under the same assumption. Now, both saw they were wrong. They felt cheated. As Doris hung up, she remembered how generous Aunt Maggie had been to them and how she sought to avoid the very situation that arose. It was only 5 years ago that Aunt Maggie told them of the bargain struck with their mother. All those years, she had never thought of selling or mortgaging the land for her own benefit. Instead, she paid hands to plant vegetables that she sold to a supermarket. She wanted to give the land back to all of them, but ill health made her a prey to Marcia's greed. Aunt Maggie had held the family together for years through selfless devotion. Now the family was disintegrating. True, Doris felt she would remain on good terms with Reggie. So far, he had always been honest and open with her. But now, she could no longer trust Marcia and felt a deep loathing towards her. She wondered whether she had unwittingly encouraged Marcia's dishonesty by allowing her to take the initiative in seeing about Aunt Maggie. But Marcia was the eldest sister who took care of things. She hardly expected Marcia's deceit would continue into her adult life. She shook her head in disappointment. Doris changed her mind about waiting up for Jim. She eased herself out of the sofa and headed for the bedroom. Tomorrow she would go and find out what could be done about Marcia's trickery. She closed her weary eyes and fell asleep. I hope you enjoyed that. This was Doris' story written by Ruth Bayley, read by Malaika Ryan. Loving what I do, doing what I love. Voicing our world. Story time.